Running a business without a strategy is like driving without a map. You might get somewhere, but chances are it's not where you want to go. Today, we're diving into two of the best tools to guide your business journey: SWOT and PESTLE analyses. These tools are powerful, straightforward, and when used correctly, can completely transform how you run your business. We'll talk about what these tools are, why they matter, how they work, and how they can help you scale operations and boost your revenue. Plus, I'll share some insider tips and common mistakes to avoid. Stick around to the end to learn more about some of the offerings that we have at About Stewart, where we'll help you to take your strategy to the next level. Now, let's start with a SWOT analysis. SWOT stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. SWOT. It's a simple yet very powerful framework to help you assess both the internal and external factors that are affecting your business. Here's how the grid works. Strengths are your internal superpowers, things that give you an edge over your competitors. These could be your team's expertise, innovative products, or strong brand reputation. And now, weaknesses, that's the W. Weaknesses are the things that are holding you back. These are typically internal things like outdated systems, knowledge gaps, or poor customer service. And identifying them helps you to prioritize which improvements you need to make first. Now, opportunities are external factors that can help you to propel your business forward. Think of market trends, emerging technologies, and even gaps in your competitors' offerings. Threats, on the other hand, are external factors that you cannot control, like economic downturns, new regulations, or really aggressive competitors. Let's take Apple as an example. Their strengths include brand recognition. Who doesn't know Apple? And not to mention product integration across all of their devices. Whether you've got a phone, an iPad, a watch, Apple TV, they all connect and work together. Now, a weakness might be their high prices. Those are definitely exclusionary and part of the reason why PCs are still the most widely used type of computer today. It's affordable. Now, opportunities for Apple, expanding into untapped markets for sure. Threats, on the other hand, would be big competitors like Samsung and regulatory pressures, I would say. But by understanding these factors, Apple is able to continuously adjust their strategy in order to keep moving forward successfully and to stay ahead of the game. Now, let's not get confused because a SWOT analysis is not just for billion-dollar companies. Whether you're a startup or a solopreneur, a SWOT analysis is a great way to get a snapshot of your business health and to create a viable plan to move forward. Now, let's dive into what a PESTLE analysis is. PESTLE examines the external environment in 6 different categories: political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental. And I'll break these down with examples. So political will include government policies, trade tariffs, or changes in leadership. For example, Brexit. Who remembers that? It's a word we haven't heard in a while, right? But Brexit caused a lot of uncertainty for businesses trading within the European Union. Then you've got economic. This includes factors like inflation, interest rates, and unemployment levels. For example, during an economic downturn, luxury brands are some of the first sectors or some of the first companies to see a decrease in demand, which you'll actually notice is happening right now. Then you have social. Social includes cultural trends, consumer behavior, and also things like health awareness, which is big. And a great example of this is actually a rise in demand for vegan products due to changing dietary preferences. Then you've got T, which is for, again, technological. What would fall under this umbrella is emerging tech like artificial intelligence, automation, and even cybersecurity advancements. Everybody always forgets about cybersecurity. And you can kind of think of e-commerce brands leveraging tools like AI in order to create personalized shopping experiences for their consumers. Then you've got legal, laws and regulations. This can include labor laws, or things like data privacy standards. For instance, GDPR changed how companies worldwide manage their customer or consumer data. Lastly, you've got E, and that is the environmental category. Climate change, sustainability trends, and waste management would fall under the environmental category. And companies like Tesla actually thrive by aligning themselves with today's existing green energy policies, believe it or not. So while SWOT focuses on both internal and external factors, PESTLE zooms out for a much broader view of the external landscape. And together, these tools give you really a full picture of your entire business environment. So now, let's talk about the benefits. Why are these tools so valuable? Well, for one, SWOT gives you a balance of the internal and the external insights, helping you to align your strengths with your opportunities and to protect against the threats that you identify in your analysis as well. PESTLE, on the other hand, ensures that you are looking at the long-term trends that could actually reshape your entire industry. So to bring it back to a realistic or a somewhat real-world example, a boutique might use SWOT to identify that its strength is, let's say, customer loyalty, while a PESTLE analysis done by the same boutique would maybe reveal a shift towards more sustainable fashions. Does that make sense? And combining these tools really allows the boutique to pivot and offer, let's say, more eco-friendly clothes that resonate with their audience and customer base. So now let's talk a little bit about how both the SWOT and the PESTLE analysis will help you or can help you to scale operations. And I kind of want you guys to think of me as like your YouTube COO, okay? Because this is really what I do and this is what I love to do. So scaling your operations is like taking your business to the gym. You're strengthening systems and really preparing to handle more weight, essentially. And that weight could be more customers, more products, or more markets. Both SWOT and PESTLE analyses are really powerful tools that help you scale strategically. And one real life example that's really front of mind is SpaceX. Now, SpaceX actually used SWOT to identify internal strengths like innovation. And then they leveraged PESTLE in order to navigate things like economic factors, like reducing production costs. And this alignment is really what helped them to disrupt other giants in their industry, like Boeing. That's the airplane company. But let's get into more detail, and maybe as I'm speaking, it will help you to brainstorm on ideas for areas of improvement in your own organization or team. So first, let's talk about identifying bottlenecks with SWOT. By looking at your internal weaknesses, you can really identify where your inefficiencies exist. Is your customer service team overwhelmed? Is your supply chain stretched too thin? A SWOT analysis will really provide you this clarity on what processes need improvement before scaling becomes a liability. So, another example, let's say that your business has a really outdated inventory management system. This would be a weakness that you identified in your SWOT analysis. Scaling without addressing this weakness first could lead to absolute chaos. The solution could then be leveraging your strength with your vendors, so leveraging your vendor relationships in order to negotiate a new or improved deal on some updated inventory software. See how that works? Now with the PESTLE, how could we leverage the PESTLE to improve our operations or scale our operations? We can do this by uncovering some trends. A PESTLE analysis deep dives into the macro environment, political regulations, economic shifts, or technological advancements can significantly determine the way in which you decide to scale. By identifying these external factors, you can anticipate challenges and also really seize on some great opportunities. An example like this would be a new technological advancement like AI-driven automation. This technological factor, which again you would discover in your PESTLE analysis, that's the T, this technological factor might help you or lead you to streamline your customer onboarding. And by leveraging an opportunity like this, you can actually scale faster without compromising on quality of your customer experience or that of your service. Now let's quickly talk about strategic resource allocation. That's just another example of how we could scale our operations. SWOT and PESTLE combined really help to ensure that you're focusing your resources on where you need them the most. If your SWOT reveals that you have, say, really strong project management processes, but maybe your PESTLE highlights some supply chain risks, you now know to allocate those resources toward mitigating those external threats first, right? Then we have positioning for long-term growth. Because scaling is not just for short-term wins, not at all. We are in this for the long haul. And it's really about sustainable growth. A thorough analysis really helps to align your operational improvements with market trends and ensures that your business remains competitive as you continue to grow. So again, scaling should not and does not have to feel like you're flying blind. With your SWOT and with your PESTLE analysis, you've got a whole roadmap, okay? And that is really going to help to ensure that every move that you make is calculated and effective. Now let's talk about how SWOT and PESTLE can be leveraged for revenue growth, because it's all about the money and that's what we want to do. We don't just want to scale our operations. We want to make more money with those scaled operations. Because do I need to explain why we want to make more money? Everybody wants to make more money, right? That's why we're here, and you guys are taking notes because you want to make money. That's why we're in business. That's what I thought. That's why I'm in business. So revenue growth is not just about selling more. It's also about selling smarter. And both your SWOT and your PESTLE methods can really help you to boost your bottom line in really innovative ways. Revenue growth often comes from understanding what your customers want and what external factors shape their behavior. For example, a coffee shop might use a PESTLE analysis to see rising demand for, let's say, cashless payments, while SWOT would help them maybe identify their strength in creating really cozy customer experiences when they come into their shop. And so by aligning these insights, businesses can really launch targeted campaigns that both resonate with their audience and their customer base and also drive revenue. Because again, it's about the money. These techniques help to boost revenue by uncovering new revenue streams with opportunities, helping to highlight market trends, and really showing you where you can help to mitigate loss from potential threats or existing threats. So let's dive a little deeper. One of the first ways that doing a thorough review like a SWOT or a PESTLE analysis is going to help you to boost revenue is through the discovery of new revenue streams with opportunities. Typically, the SWOT's opportunities section is going to be a goldmine for new revenue generating ideas. Are there underserved markets? Could you cross-sell or upsell to your existing customers? By regularly conducting a SWOT analysis, and by regularly I mean at least annually, twice a year would be great, but by regularly conducting a SWOT analysis, you really help yourself to stay tuned into revenue possibilities. So, for example, if your SWOT reveals a high satisfaction rate amongst your customers, maybe consider launching a subscription service in order to deepen customer loyalty and to drive recurring revenue, or to create some recurring revenue if you don't already have that built into your business model. Now, the next way that these reviews are going to help you to really drive or increase your revenue is by providing you with the opportunity to really capitalize on market trends. And this is going to be primarily done through the PESTLE analysis. PESTLE really shines when it comes to spotting trends. Social and economic factors, for example, might reveal a growing demand for sustainable products. And by aligning your offerings with these trends, you position your business for growth. So if your PESTLE highlights an increase in, say, health-conscious consumers, which would be a social factor, You could then go ahead and create a new product line that specifically caters to that demand. These reviews also both help to mitigate a loss of revenue from any existing or potential threats that you might be facing. And revenue isn't just about making money, it's also about keeping money, which I think some of our more experienced owners already know all about. Both the SWOT and the PESTLE analysis help you to identify and prepare for threats that could eat into your profits, like rising costs or new competitors. So if your PESTLE shows rising import tariffs, which would be a political factor, you might want to start consider sourcing your supplies and your materials locally in order to both reduce your expenses and also to protect your margins. I also want to talk about enhancing your pricing strategies. By analyzing economic factors in PESTLE, plus your competitive strengths that you uncover in your SWOT, you can actually refine your pricing strategy. So whether it's increasing your prices based on premium product quality or launching limited time discounts to, say, your existing customers, these insights could really lead to better informed pricing decisions. And lastly, when it comes to really boosting your revenue, both the SWOT and the PESTLE analyses can be leveraged to help you streamline your marketing campaigns. They both really inform marketing, highlighting strengths like excellent customer service or leveraging technological trends like social media ads can help to both attract new customers and retain your existing ones. So again, revenue growth does not at all happen by accident. It's typically, I want to say 95 to 99.999% of the time due to the result of deliberate strategy. With SWOT and PESTLE, you're not just chasing profits. You are building a sustainable path for your business towards financial success. So when and who should be conducting these SWOT and or PESTLE analyses for your group? The answer for this will vary based on the organization, the market. There are a number of factors, but ideally, this work will be done whenever you are launching a new product, entering a new market, or facing significant changes in your industry. And like I said earlier, annual reviews are also a really great practice to put in place. So if it's not on the calendar yet, schedule that appointment, invite all of the relevant stakeholders, and make this just a part of your regular operational cadence. Now, as far as who should be involved, business owners, business managers, and even consultants. At About Stewart, we really do recommend involving, again, all of the stakeholders. So anybody who has a hand in any part of the process from start to finish, those should be the perspectives that you are trying to collect. The last thing that you want to do is to completely overlook a really key business area or a critical process because you may really be putting yourself at a disadvantage by excluding that piece of the puzzle for your review. Now, let's talk about how to conduct a SWOT analysis first, and then we'll get into how you should be conducting your PESTLE analysis. It's really simple and straightforward again, but I do want to break it down step by step. So if you don't have a notepad or a device to take notes, I suggest that you whip that out now, or you can always replay this video when you're actually ready to start doing that work with your team and just let it guide you through or walk you through the process. So step one of conducting your SWOT analysis is to define your objective. Start by clarifying what you're analyzing. Is it a product? Is it a campaign? Or is it your entire business? This really helps to ensure that your SWOT analysis stays focused and actionable. Step two is going to be to gather those stakeholders that we were just talking about. Again, involve people with different perspectives from different areas of your business as much as possible. Managers, team members, even customers. And that could be done through surveys, phone calls, whatever you think is most appropriate. in order to ensure that you really just capture a complete picture of everything that's going on. This is not the time to lie to yourself. This is not the time to cut corners. You really want to make sure that you are allowing yourself to do as honest of a review as possible. Step 3 is going to be to brainstorm each quadrant of that SWOT, beginning with your internal factors. So, strengths. What do you do better than your competitors? What unique resources or expertise do you happen to have on your team and within your organization? Then you've got your weaknesses to look at. What gaps or limitations exist within your team or throughout your processes? Once you've looked at your internal factors, it's time to then move on to looking at the external factors. And that would be your opportunities and your threats. So for opportunities, we want to ask ourselves, what market trends or gaps that you can see right now, what of those can we capitalize on today? With regard to threats, the question that you want to ask yourself is, what external risks could impact your business? And be honest, and maybe do a little bit of research here, just to make sure that you have a really thorough and accurate response to what that is, to what your threats are. Now, step 4 of your SWOT analysis, once you've got everything down on your paper or your document or however you're tracking those responses or the inputs for the SWOT analysis, step 4, or 4, because that's 8 fingers, step 4 is going to then be prioritizing and refining what those findings were. So from your brainstormed lists, narrow it down to the most critical factors. Focus on those elements that have or will have the greatest impact on your goals. And then step 5 is really just going to be to organize these findings, because as you're working, I'm sure, everybody might have a copy of a document. This might be on a whiteboard. However you're working, make sure that when you're finished kind of throwing all of the spaghetti at the wall, that you then have a way to visualize all of that data and information in a way that makes sense and in a way that you can share with the rest of your team members who are then going to have to take steps in order to make your findings, again, actionable, in order to plan off of those, in order to really identify what your key objectives are coming out of that SWOT analysis. And this is also going to be a great way to really find those connections, even after you really prioritize them. This is really going to be a great way to find those connections between your strengths and your threats, between your opportunities and your weaknesses. So really take the time to make it presentable and shareable. Now, moving on to how to conduct a PESTLE analysis. This is going to follow a similar process to our SWOT, but again, I am going to break this one down step by step as well. So step 1, very similar to our SWOT, we are going to define the scope of this PESTLE analysis. Decide whether you are analyzing a business, product, or a market. For example, if you're a startup, maybe you'll focus on whatever your niche industry is. I hope that makes sense. Step 2 is going to be to conduct research for each category within that PESTLE framework. So again, there are 6 PESTLE factors to consider. The first being political. And here we want to ask ourselves things like, what trade policies or regulations could impact you? Then we've got economic. What is the state of your local and global economy? Because you've got to consider both. We're all connected. And now for the S, that's social. Think about whether or not there are shifts in customer preferences that you should maybe address. Moving on to T, we've got technological. And here we want to think about if there are new tools or platforms that maybe we should adopt. For legal, you want to think about the compliance issues or the laws that apply to your business. So definitely do your research here, or even defer to legal counsel in this matter, just to make sure that you really are doing a thorough job here, because there are some changes that could really impact you negatively if you're not prepared for them. So I would say for legal, really make sure that you have the right people or persons involved here. And then lastly, you've got your environmental factors to consider. And I think for environmental, the question to be asking ourselves right now is, how can we align ourselves? How can we align ourselves with sustainability trends? That's really what we should be asking ourselves in 2024. So once we've gathered information for all 6 of those PESTLE factors or categories, the next thing that we're going to want to do is to really pick out or identify the key factors, the things that really, really matter to us. So I want you to go through the list that you've created for all 6 of those categories and rank each factor based on the impact that it'll have on your business or industry, and then, of course, the relevance. For instance, if you are a tech startup, you may, just may, want to prioritize technological advancements over environmental trends. Maybe not, but maybe. Step 4 is going to be, again, similar to the wrap-up that we did on the SWOT. Step 4 is going to involve creating a really visual document to share all of this information with the people who need to see it. So use a table or a template in order to organize your findings. You'll also likely use the same format in order to disseminate these findings. And just make sure to keep it really concise and, again, actionable, because we're not doing all this work for no reason. Everything that you come up with, all of these findings, the point is to take action. The point is to use them as the basis for your strategy as you plan out your next steps for the next year, for the next quarter, for the product, for the project, for the campaign. Got it? And then, of course, number 5 is going to involve translating these insights into actual strategy. So once your analysis is complete, you then need to determine how these findings and these factors are going to shape your decisions. For example, if rising environmental awareness is a factor, you then might want to, let's say, invest in eco-friendly products. So A leads to B. Make sense? Now let's talk about combining both the SWOT and the PESTLE for maximum impact. This is really where the magic happens. You're going to combine your PESTLE insights with your SWOT in order to align your internal strengths with external opportunities. For instance, if a PESTLE analysis reveals, so my camera totally fell over, but I am just going to continue, and if anything looks weird or wonky, I apologize, but let's knock this out because we're doing some really important work together. So if your PESTLE analysis reveals a demand for, let's say, AI, your SWOT will then identify if your team actually has these skills to deliver that. And if they don't, then looks like you'll have to find some other resources, whether hiring or augmenting your staff, but that is for later on down the line. Right now, we are just identifying and strategizing and coming up with a plan. A high-level plan. So again, what are we doing with all of this? We're taking our findings and turning them into actionable strategies. Strengths become areas to invest in. Weaknesses get improvement plans. Opportunities call for typically very targeted campaigns or programs. And threats require contingency plans. At a high level, that's what you're going to do with each of the sections from your SWOT and your PESTLE analyses. Now, let's quickly talk about some challenges that you might face as you do this work, and also some tips that should help you out along the way. So first off, the challenges. The first one that comes to mind is groupthink, because that's what happens when you are working in a team within the same organization, the same people that you see day in and day out. You kind of tend to become an echo chamber. There's typically a very established dynamic where there's a leader and some followers. These are just some habits that we might want to try and break out of a little bit, especially as we conduct these exercises. Let's really stretch ourselves to avoid that. Along with groupthink, we also, because we're always trying to rush through some work, we might have the tendency to oversimplify our problems or our findings or the issues that we do want to bring up. because there is this assumption that, we do all think the same, or that everybody is working with the same level of understanding. I think that when doing your SWOT and when doing your PESTLE, include as much detail as possible with whatever information you do decide to document. I think the more information, the better. It provides more context and is really going to help as you plan and as you strategize. It'll really help you to identify all the little parts that you do need to work on or address, or all the little parts or areas that you can leverage as you move forward. And then lastly, there's working with outdated information. And this is where it becomes really important to make sure that you are doing your proper research, check your sources. If you're on the internet, make sure you check the date of those articles. If you're doing legal research, again, make sure you've got the right resources involved. And another way to avoid a lot of this is to, like I said before, include as many diverse perspectives as possible in addition to the right resources. And then you also want to make sure that you are visiting and revisiting these documents as frequently as possible, or conducting the analyses on a regular basis. This is really going to help keep everything fresh and as relevant as possible for your team and for your business and for your objectives. So I hope that those tips were really helpful. If you are out there and you are ready to take your business and your strategy to the next level, I would highly, highly encourage you to book a free 15-minute call with About Stewart today. We can help you to dive into your SWOT, into your PESTLE, and really unlock more of your business's potential. Our services also include a project management deep dive, campaign launch planning, and then we also have custom consultation packages for those who are requiring a longer term engagement and really want us to dig in and partner with them and work alongside them for an extended period versus just having a single consultation session. Either way, I think that I have given you all plenty to get a jumpstart on this work on your own, but definitely give us a visit at www.aboutstewart.com to learn more about what we do and how our services can help propel you to the next level. Talk to you soon. Bye.